The title of today's story is The Farmer Princess, so let's start the story. Once upon a time, in a small kingdom called Elmdale, there lived a humble farmer named Leo. Leo was a hard-working man who lived a modest life, cultivating his fields and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. One day, while Leo was harvesting his crops, he heard the faint sound of a child crying. Curious and concerned, he followed the sound and found a young girl lying among the ripe vegetables. The girl was wearing a beautiful necklace made of pearls. "Are you all alone here?" Leo asked gently, looking around for any sign of the girl's parents. When he couldn't find anyone, he decided to take the girl home and care for her. Back at home, Leo's wife, Emma, was equally astonished by the discovery. They decided to hide the pearl necklace for safekeeping and raise the girl as their own, naming her Amara after the way she brought a ray of light into their lives. As Amara grew, it became clear she was no ordinary child. She possessed a certain magical aura that set her apart from the other children. Her beauty and grace were unmatched, and she quickly became the talk of the village. Meanwhile, across the valley in a grand but dark castle, lived the wicked sorceress Morgana. Morgana was known for her cruel nature and had turned many of the kingdom's inhabitants into animals or objects for her amusement. She would turn someone into a rabbit, crow, or cat. Her castle was a place of perpetual darkness and fear. One evening, as Morgana is discussing her evil plans with her loyalists, she receives a disturbing prophecy from her trusted magical servant. "A young girl with a pearl necklace will come to end your reign of terror. Will come and end you." Fearful of this prophecy, Morgana ordered her guards to scour the kingdom and eliminate any girl matching the description. However, Leo and Emma had hidden Amara well, and she continued to grow in their loving care, unaware of the danger looming over. Years passed, and Amara grew into a beautiful girl with a kind heart and courageous spirit. One day, while working in the fields, she meets a young man named Ethan, who is immediately impressed by her beauty and kindness. Ethan was the Prince of Elmdale, who was possessed by Morgana, causing him to forget his true identity. As Ethan and Amara spent time together, they formed a deep bond of friendship and eventually fell in love. However, their happiness was overshadowed by the increasing threats from Morgana's castle. One fateful day, Morgana's soldiers capture Amara and bring her to the dark castle. Morgan became angry when she saw the girl from the prophecy standing in front of her. "So are you the one who is going to end my rule and kill me?" she sneered. Amara, though frightened, stood tall. "Your tyranny must come to an end, Morgana. The people of Elmdale deserve peace." In a fit of rage, Morgana cast a powerful spell to imprison Amara. But just as the spell was about to take effect, Amara's pearl necklace glowed brightly, and a magical barrier shielded her from harm. Realizing the power of the necklace, Morgana tried to take it away, but Ethan, who had recovered his memories, broke into the castle and prevented Morgana from taking the necklace. Together, they fought Morgan with all their might. In the end, Amara's bravery and the necklace's magic prevailed. Morgana was defeated and banished from the kingdom forever. The dark curse lifted, and the people of Elmdale were freed from their enchantments, returning to their true forms. Grateful for their freedom, the villagers celebrated Amara and Ethan as their heroes. Amara's parents, Leo and Emma, were honored for their kindness and bravery in raising her. Amara and Ethan, now free to be together, ruled Elmdale with wisdom and compassion, ensuring that the kingdom flourished in peace and prosperity. And so, the valley, once dark and filled with fear, became a place of joy and happiness, all thanks to the courage of a simple farmer's daughter and her true love. The title of today's story is The Detective Princess, so let's start the story. Once upon a time, in the enchanted kingdom of Eldoria, there lived a clever princess named Sophia. Unlike most princesses, Sophia loved solving mysteries. She had a sharp mind, a keen eye, and a heart full of courage. Her best friend was a tiny dragon named Spark, who could light up the darkest places with his fiery breath. Sophia's father, King Edmund, and mother, Queen Eliza, ruled Eldoria with kindness and wisdom. The kingdom was a place of joy and magic, where fairies danced in the gardens, and unicorns roamed the forests. One sunny morning, a great commotion arose in the castle. The royal scepter, a magical artifact that protected the kingdom, had gone missing. Without it, Eldoria's magic would fade, and the land would fall into darkness. The king called for his bravest knights, but Sophia stepped forward. "Father, let me find the scepter," she said with determination. "I'm the best detective in Eldoria." King Edmund hesitated but agreed, knowing his daughter's talents. With Spark by her side, Sophia began her adventure. They started by investigating the throne room, where the scepter was last seen. Sophia noticed tiny footprints leading out of the room. "Spark, these are fairy footprints," she whispered. They followed the trail to the garden, where they met Luna, the fairy queen. Luna's wings sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. "Princess Sophia, how can I help you?" Luna asked. "We're looking for the royal scepter. Have you seen anything unusual?" Sophia inquired. Luna nodded. "I saw a shadowy figure near the rose bushes last night. It moved swiftly towards the Whispering Woods." Sophia and Spark thanked Luna and hurried to the Whispering Wood. The woods were dark and full of secrets. Suddenly, they heard a rustling sound. A mischievous sprite named Flick appeared, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Hello, princess. What brings you to my woods?" Flick asked. "We're looking for the royal scepter. Do you know anything about it?" Sophia questioned. Flick giggled. "I might have seen something, but you'll have to catch me first." He darted away, laughing. Sophia and Spark chased Flick through the woods, dodging low branches and leaping over streams. Finally, they cornered him near a shimmering waterfall. All right, I'll tell you," Flick said, catching his breath. "I saw a goblin named Grumble sneaking around with a shiny object. He lives in the Caves of Echoes." The Caves of Echoes were known for their eerie sounds and labyrinthine paths. Sophia and Spark bravely entered the caves. They followed the sound of grumbling and soon found a ghost named Grumble holding the royal scepter. "Grumble, that scepter belongs to the kingdom. You have to return it," Sophia said firmly. Grumble growled and tightened his grip on the scepter. "I won't give it back. With it, I can have all the power I want." With a roar, Grumble attacked Sophia, swinging the scepter wildly, but Sophia dodged, her quick reflexes keeping her safe. Spark, sensing danger, flew around Grumble, distracting him from the flames. The cave echoed with the sounds of their battle. Sophia grabbed a stick lying nearby and blocked Grumble's attacks. The ghost's power was terrible, but Sophia's agility and courage were her greatest asset. He blocked a heavy blow and delivered a swift blow, knocking the scepter from Grumble's hand. Angered, Grumble tried to capture it again, but Sophia was faster. He kicked the scepter away and Spark immediately picked it up. "You've lost, Grumble. Admit your defeat and maybe we can help you find a better way," Sophia said, her voice steady and kind. Grumble hesitated, his anger beginning to subside. He saw the determined princess and her brave dragon. With a heavy sigh, he fell on his knees. I just wanted to be strong." Sophia lowered her wand and approached him. "True strength comes from doing the right thing and helping others. You can still be stronger by making better choices." Grumble nodded. "I'm sorry, princess. Please take the scepter back." Sophia accepted the scepter and smiled. With the scepter safely in their hands, Sophia and Spark returned to the castle. The state celebrated his return. King Edmund and Queen Eliza were very happy and proud of their daughter. The kingdom celebrated with a grand feast. And so, Sophia was hailed as the detective princess, the hero who saved Eldoria.
The title of today's story is Princess Aria and the Cake, so let's start the story. Princess Aria was the beloved daughter of King Duncan and Queen Isabella, who ruled the kingdom of Glenwood in a far-off land. She had 3 younger brothers who were triplets, full of mischief and laughter. Queen Isabella wanted Aria to act like a proper princess, but Aria had a free spirit and loved practicing archery. One evening, while the family was eating dinner in the grand hall, Queen Isabella made an announcement. "Aria, 3 great princes are coming to compete for your marriage," she said in a stern voice. Aria's heart sank. She didn't want anyone to decide her future for her. "I don't want to marry anyone, Mom," Aria shouted, pushed her chair back and walked out of the room. King Duncan looked on with concern, but couldn't say anything amid Aria and Isabella's bickering. The next day, the princes arrived, each eager to impress the princess. He shows off his skill in archery while trying to win Aria's favor. The first prince missed the target completely. The second prince's arrow barely hit the edge and the third prince's arrow fell far away from the target. Determined to show her true form, Princess Aria takes to the field. With a deep breath, He pulled back the string of his bow and released an arrow which hit the target perfectly. The crowd gasped in surprise. He shot 2 more arrows, each of which split the previous arrow down the middle. Queen Isabella's face turned red with anger, and she scolded Aria for embarrassing the prince. "You've embarrassed us all, Aria," Isabella shouted. "You are behaving not like a princess, but like a commoner." Hurt and angry, Aria replied, "I will not be a pawn in your game, mother." In anger, she grabbed a beautiful picture of their family hanging on the wall and tore it. Then she ran away from the palace, tears streaming down her face. Deep in the woods, Aria wandered until she came across a small hidden hut. There lived an old witch who was an expert in making strange herbs and potions. The witch looked at her with intelligent eyes and asked, "Why have you come here, child?" Aria cried, "My mother wants to marry me, but she doesn't understand me. I want her to change her mind." The witch gave her a magical cake. She said mysteriously, "Feed this to your mother, and her heart will change." Aria quickly returned to the palace and presented the cake to Queen Isabella. As soon as the queen ate it, she fell ill and turned into a bear. Aria's brothers, who also tasted the cake, also turned into little bears. Seeing this, Aria felt very remorseful and started crying. Horrified and remorseful, Aria tries to find a way to help her mother. She ran back to the witch's hut, but it was empty. Witch was not there, but there was a message written on the wall. "To change destiny, look within, mend the bonds broken by pride." Aria contemplates the message and realizes that it means she needs to repair the damage she has caused. She sat on her horse and rode quickly back towards the palace. There, she took out the torn photograph and began to mend it, each stitch filled with love and regret. Meanwhile, Queen Isabella struggles to maintain her humanity in bear form. She was scared and confused, but she also saw her daughter's suffering and determination. Aria slowly placed the retouched picture above her mother and brothers. With tears in her eyes, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom. I love you. Please come back to me." As soon as the first rays of morning touched the palace, Queen Isabella and her sons began to transform back into humans. King Duncan was pleased to see his family healthy again. They all embraced, their hearts filled with gratitude and love. Queen Isabella, realizing the depth of Aria's feelings and her own mistakes, gives Aria the freedom she always wanted. In return, Aria promised to honor her family and her kingdom. Princess Aria continued to practice archery, but now she approached her duties as a princess more wholeheartedly. The kingdom of Glenwood flourished under the wise and fair rule of King Duncan, Queen Isabella, and their spirited daughter, Princess Aria. So friends, from this story we learned that even the deepest wounds can be healed with love and understanding. The title of today's story is Leo and Ella. So let's start the story. Once upon a time, in the village of Meadowbrook, there lived a poor woodcutter named Tom with his 2 children, Leo and Ella. Their mother had passed away, and Tom struggled to provide for his family. As hard times fell upon them, food became scarce, and Tom grew increasingly worried about how he would feed his children. One evening, Tom's new wife, Maria, who was selfish and unkind, convinced him to abandon Leo and Ella in the forest. She argued that it was the only way for them to survive, as they couldn't afford to feed the children any longer. Despite his reluctance, Tom eventually agreed, hoping someone kind might find and care for them. Leo, who was clever and resourceful, overheard the conversation. He gathered white pebbles from the garden and filled his pockets. The next day, Tom took Leo and Ella deep into the forest and left them there. As they walked, Leo dropped the pebbles along the way, creating a path they could follow back home. When night fell and their father was gone, Leo and Ella followed the pebbles back to their cottage. Tom was overjoyed to see them, but Maria was furious. She scolded Tom and demanded they try again. This time, Leo and Ella would be taken even deeper into the woods. The following night, Leo tried to gather more pebbles, but Maria had locked the door. Instead, he took a piece of bread and crumbled it in his pocket, planning to leave a trail of crumbs. The next day, Tom led them farther into the forest and left them once more. Leo dropped the breadcrumbs as they walked. However, when night fell and they tried to follow the trail, they found that birds had eaten all the crumbs. Leo and Ella were lost and frightened. They wandered through the forest, hoping to find their way home, but instead, they stumbled upon a cottage made of candy and cake. Hungry and tired, they began to nibble on the house. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and a kind-looking old wizard named Cedric appeared. "Welcome, children," he said. "Come inside and have a proper meal." Grateful for the hospitality, Leo and Ella entered the cottage. Cedric served them a delicious feast and they ate until they were full. Little did they know, Cedric was not as kind as he seemed. He was a wicked wizard who lured children to his home to use them for his dark magic. Cedric locked Leo in a cage and forced Ella to help him with his spells. Days turned into weeks, and Ella grew worried for her brother. She noticed that Cedric's eyesight was poor and began to devise a plan. Whenever Cedric asked her to check if Leo was getting fat enough to eat, Ella would give him a thin bone instead of Leo's finger. Cedric, thinking Leo was still too thin, delayed his evil plans. One night, Ella overheard Cedric planning to cook Leo the next day. She knew they had to act quickly. She found a way to distract Cedric and grabbed the keys to Leo's cage. Silently, she unlocked the door, and they began their escape. As they fled through the forest, Cedric discovered their plan and chased after them. Leo and Ella ran as fast as they could, but Cedric was gaining on them. Just when they thought they would be caught, they reached a river. On the other side of the river, they saw a friendly swan. The swan, understanding their plight, let them climb onto its back and carried them across the river. Cedric, unable to cross, cursed in frustration and disappeared into the woods. Leo and Ella thanked Swan and set out for their home. They eventually found their way back to Meadowbrook and were reunited with their father, Tom, who had been searching for them ever since. He became very happy and apologized for listening to Maria and leaving them alone in such a forest. Tom chased Maria away and vowed to take better care of Leo and Ella. With Cedric gone and the family reunited, they lived happily ever after, never to be separated again.
The title of today's story is The Secret Princess, so let's review the secret. Once upon a time in the peaceful kingdom of Aurelian, there was a young girl named Clara. She lived in a small cottage at the edge of the forest with her kind but mysterious grandmother, Matilda. Clara was a cheerful and kind-hearted girl, always helping the villagers and tending to the garden. However, she always felt that there was something different about her, something hidden. One day, while cleaning the attic, Clara found an old dusty chest. Inside, she discovered a beautiful silver locket with a moonstone gem. As soon as she touched it, a soft light emanated from the locket. Confused and intrigued, Clara took the locket to her grandmother. Matilda looked at the locket with a mix of surprise and sadness. She sat Clara down and began to tell her a story. "Clara, there's something you need to know. You are not just an ordinary girl. You are the secret princess of Aurelian." Clara's eyes widened in shock. "A princess? But how? Why didn't you tell me before?" Matilda sighed. "When you were born, Aurelian was under threat from a dark sorcerer named C.F.R. Your parents, King Roland and Queen Evelina, hid you away to protect you. They entrusted me with your care and asked me to keep your true identity a secret until the time was right." Clara felt a mix of emotions, shock, excitement, and fear. "What happened to my parents? Are they still alive?" Matilda nodded. "They are, but C.F.R has imprisoned them in his dark castle, deep in the Forbidden Forest. They are waiting for you, their daughter, to return and save them. The locket you found is a key to unlocking your powers as a princess. It's time for you to fulfill your destiny." Determined to save her parents and reclaim her place as the Princess of Aurelian, Clara set off on a journey with the locket around her neck. Matilda gave her a small pouch filled with magical herbs and a map showing the way to C.F.R's castle. As Clara traveled through the forest, she encountered various magical creatures. One day, she met a kind fairy named Aria, who had radiant wings and a warm smile. "Princess Clara, I've been waiting for you," Aria said. "I'm here to help you on your journey." With Aria's guidance, Clara learned to use the powers of the locket. She could summon moonlight to light her path, create protective barriers, and even heal minor wounds. Aria also told Clara about the secrets of the forest and the dangers that lay ahead. One evening, while resting by a sparkling stream, Clara heard a rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a group of goblins appeared, led by a sinister-looking creature named Grizzle. Hand over the locket, princess, and we might let you go, Grizzle sneered. Clara stood her ground, her heart pounding. I will never give it to you, she declared. Using the locket's power, she created a barrier of light around herself and Aria. The goblins attacked, but the barrier held strong. With Aria's help, Clara used her newfound abilities to defeat the goblins, who fled back into the shadows. As they continued their journey, Clara and Aria grew closer. Aria revealed that she had once been a guardian of Aurelian, but C.F.R's dark magic had weakened her powers. Your bravery gives me hope, Princess Clara, Aria said. Together we can save your parents and restore peace to the kingdom. Finally, after days of traveling, they reached the edge of the forbidden forest. In the distance, C.F.R's dark castle loomed, surrounded by a thick, ominous fog. Clara took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and determination. We're almost there, she whispered. As they approached the castle, Aria used her magic to create an opening in the fog. They slipped through the gates and navigated the dark, winding corridors. The castle was filled with traps and dark creatures, but with Aria's guidance and Clara's courage, they pressed on. In the deepest part of the castle, they found a tall tower. At the top, locked in a magical cage, were King Roland and Queen Evelina. Mother! Father! Clara cried, rushing to the cage. C.F.R appeared, his dark eyes gleaming with malice. So, the little princess has finally come, he sneered. But you are too late. Your powers are no match for mine. Clara stood tall, her heart pounding. I will not let you harm my family or my kingdom any longer, C.F.R. She held the locket tightly, feeling its power surge through her. A fierce battle ensued. C.F.R's dark magic clashed with Clara's moonlight power. The room filled with blinding flashes of light and darkness. Aria joined the fight, using her fairy magic to weaken C.F.R's defenses. Despite his strength, C.F.R was no match for the combined power of Clara and Aria. With a final burst of moonlight, Clara shattered C.F.R's dark magic. The sorcerer let out a cry of rage as his powers dissolved into nothingness. The magical cage around her parents disappeared, and they were free at last. King Roland and Queen Evelina embraced Clara, their hearts filled with joy and pride. You've grown into a brave and powerful princess, King Roland said. We are so proud of you. Clara smiled, tears of happiness in her eyes. I couldn't have done it without Aria, she said, looking at the fairy with gratitude. Aria smiled warmly. You have a true heart, Princess Clara. Your bravery and kindness have saved us all. With C.F.R defeated and her parents safe, Clara returned to Aurelian as its rightful princess. The kingdom rejoiced, celebrating the return of their beloved royal family. Clara's powers continued to grow, and she used them to help her people and protect her kingdom. Matilda, proud of her granddaughter, watched as Clara blossomed into a wise and just ruler. The secret of the princess was revealed, and with it came a new era of peace and prosperity for Aurelian.